How's it going, everyone? It's Monday, June 23rd, 2021. You're listening to THHoopers, Boris Diaw's favorite basketball podcast. I'm your host, broadcasting from a t-shirt and underwear, Jacob Lehman. I'm here with George Martin.
Hello.
No camera for him because he has no Wi-Fi. And Josh Rhodes, full squad.
I'm t-shirt and shorts, not underwear.
We're recording first morning episode. I woke up 15 minutes ago. We got some natural sunlight coming in for the YouTube video. Well, except for George. But we got a good show for you guys. Suns go up 2-0. Bucks Hawks preview that we promised you would get to in the last episode. And then the draft lottery results. And also my top 5 white boys in the NBA in honor of K'Von Huerter. It only makes sense.
And Alex Caruso being arrested.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got my list, Josh. Don't worry. Remember, if you guys like what you should, make sure to follow us at THHoopers, Instagram and Twitter. Drop a comment. A concern, maybe? I don't know. Any sort of interaction.
Frankie didn't comment last time, did he?
Yeah, Frankie doesn't listen, all right? So I won't have Frankie in the podcast. I simply won't. He also wanted to drop a hot take that Ben Simmons is ass. So we can see where his head's at as far as hot takes go.
Scorching.
We do both have the Hawks winning, though, against the Bucks. So I'm not too confident, but we'll see how it goes. Let's get right into it. Hopefully we don't have an hour and a half episode. We'll start with the Suns beating the Clippers, 104-103, take a 2-0 lead because that's the only game that happened. But my God, was that a good game. We got kind of lucky. There's only one game on. We got this one, though. I'm still kind of, bugging out. It happened last night. PG missed 2 free throws. Well, up 9 seconds left. Not good. Then Booker kicks it to Mikal Bridges. This is the corner 3. Terrence Mann tips it out of bounds, so Jay Crowder has to have this weird little pass, on the baseline, like kind of with 2 defenders in front of him, the 2 baselines. Just lobs it nice to Ayton. Ball game. Blouses. I'll start with Josh because he actually watched this game. Oh, walk me through the last play. You called it. I thought it was going to be a Booker, right? I thought it was going to be a Booker come across a double screen and go right in that corner right there, kind of do a fadeaway, like the J.R. Smith game winners when Carmelo Anthony's out in 13 with the Knicks. But you called it. Ayton, what'd you think?
Well, Ayton had a good game. Ayton was probably the only bright spot for the Suns for the most part. Campaign picked it up eventually and then kind of wrote it out. But both these teams are struggling, especially from perimeter shooting. I didn't really like the Mikal Bridges call. I kind of thought Booker should have taken it to the center and then had the rest of the court because it wouldn't have brought a double. But when you're in such a weird place to inbound the ball, I don't want to say it sounded obvious, but they did that play similar in the first quarter, and Ayton dunked all over Zubac. It was terrible. It was bad. And I figured, I was like, why don't they just do that again? Because it seems like it's working. Ayton's kind of getting whatever he wants, no matter who's on him. They put Cousins in to kind of mitigate that pass a little bit. It clearly didn't work. And they had such a small amount of time. I think they were just afraid that if Booker got it, he would have probably had to hoist something that he didn't like. But it was a good play call by Monty Williams. That play has happened before. I think it was in Orlando a long time ago. Dwight Howard dunked the ball to win the game. It was a really fun play to watch.
It's that one, and then the New York Knicks David Lee one with .1.
Yeah,
where he had to tip it.
We had to tip it. Yeah, so it was a very good call by Monty Williams, in my opinion, and yeah, that's ultimately what won them the game. They both struggled from the field, and I think that they went for the safer option instead of the quote unquote cooler game winner.
It was still pretty bad.
It was still pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so they brought in Boogie to kind of deter Jay Crowder, and if you remember correctly, Jay Crowder was the one that put the ball on the money for that Uncle JG game winner on the Celtics, like a bunch of years back against the Heat, where he had to hoist it like the whole entire length of the short court to the corner. Who's breathing like that?
George.
But yeah, anyways, Jay knows how to pass in those late game situations. I do agree with you. Booker shouldn't have pushed it to the corner because that made an easy double. So they were already doubling him throughout the game in the high pick and roll, and that was opening a lot. But he went to the corner, so they made an easy double. And Mikal got a decent look, but not the best. But yeah, great play call in that last one. George, what did you take from this one with what you watched?
Well, first, I just want to say Campaign had an out-of-body experience, 29-9 with no turnovers. He literally looked like Chris Paul out there. Like Chris Paul took over his body and just had an incredible game. He had 16 first-half points. That was wild. And then Also with Ayton, he's kind of broken up the Clippers small ball that made them really successful in the last series against the Jazz. And I'm not going to say like, oh, he's better than what Gobert was doing, but he provides. He's able to switch. He's able to switch and get out to the shooters on the corner and just rotate. And the Clippers don't have like those same driving lanes where they can kick. So they've just, and that prompted them to start Zoo in the second game. So I just really feel like he's kind of been the X factor to their success in this series so far.
No, Ayton definitely has been the best big they faced because, Porzingis didn't show up, and then Gobert, they figured out how to use him.
Worse than Porzingis.
Honestly, yeah, because when they found out how to, exploit him on defense. But yeah, Ayton, he's great, and he does all the intangible things. He knows where to be, when to get those lobs. He plays good defense. He's nimble on the perimeter. But I wish especially when Booker went out and they had no campaign as well, because Booker went to go get stitches, campaign was taking a break. I think Ayton was on the floor, and they wouldn't post him up. They don't like posting up Ayton. I feel like when they're neck and neck with the Clippers, and the Clippers are kind of on a run to come back and tie the game, you slow the game down, you dump it into Ayton because he has those post moves in his bag. So I wish they would do that more often. But other than that, I think Monty Williams coached a flawless game. With Booker struggling, they got this W, and I kind of agreed with Pat Bev afterwards. It's always a stupid quote when they say this, but he said they feel like they had this game won. I do too. Clippers played pretty solid. PG, not the best at the end, goes 9 for 22. But just watching him, I remember he's such a smooth player. He's so fun to watch because he's just silky.
No one's going to talk about it, but he went 4-6 in the fourth quarter, 12 points.
He would have had the game winner.
Yeah, he hit the go-ahead shot, and it's just unfortunate that I don't know what happened. Like it seems like every time he comes this close, I was ready. I think I texted. I was like, he's back. Like he hit that little silky layup, and then he hit the game winner. I think it was over Jay Crowder. I was like, he's getting over all his demons. All he's got to do is make these free throws. They win the game. That'd be crazy. And then he blew it.
Well, yeah, we're watching it, and we're all delayed, except for Joey Vaca, because he has cable, because he's, rich and privileged. And he texts OMG while Paul George is going to the line. And I'm like, okay, he probably missed the first one. He missed both. I was shocked. And it was – so I guess we'll go to that the review play with – I don't know if George saw too much of this.
I saw all the review.
Goody. So there was like 33 minutes in the last 2 minutes of gameplay that took, which I didn't mind because it seemed like I got all of them right, except for the one where Pat Bev knocks it out of Booker's hand with 9, leading to the Paul George 2 missed free throws. It's off Booker, and the broadcast crew mentioned this, but that's not how the rules meant. Pat Bev made it go out of bounds, and it didn't hit a foot or anything. It just, I don't think they should review plays that look that convincing through the eye test, or else you're going to start overthinking every single play. Because almost everything, we've played basketball, they knock it out of your hand, it's still in your hand a little bit before it goes out.
Off your fingertips.
But if you call that, if you were Pat Bev and you go play pickup and you're like, nah, you were still holding it when I knocked it out, you're not getting picked up for the next game. I'll tell you that much. So,
well, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the Christmas Day game when he blocked it out of LeBron's hands, and it was like, well, yeah, it rolled off his fingertips last. Well, yeah, because he knocked it out of his hands. Like, that's not how the rule book is, but like you said, you could call it every single time, be like, oh, well, it was in your hand last because I knocked it out.
Your thoughts, Josh?
I kind of disagree with you guys because I know that's a fair point, but at the same time, like, there's possessions where it's, I don't know, it's very difficult to tell, but I kind of think that, like, the way I think Pat Bev should get more credit, like, as a defender, because where else have you heard this? Like, obviously, like, we talk about it as like a general statement, like, obviously it's still going to be in your hand if somebody knocks it out. But the only instances I can really think of are the 2 Pat Bev situations.
Well, here's the thing. Pat Bev is not the only one doing it. He's the only one freaking out and saying, review it every single time.
That's true.
And I just hate when the refs, who already are, it's a thankless job, now they're overthinking their own eye test because now you're calling the game for 47 minutes a different way. And then within 1 minute, you review everything when it's that. Because no one before the replay was like, that's off of Booker. Because it unless it goes off a foot or something, it looks clean.
Clear
so you don't want to get into the mindset of reviewing every single play when the eye test looks so conclusive. Even though the eye test could be wrong sometimes, like we saw it. I'm not saying it wasn't off Booker. I'm just saying I don't agree with how it is. But the rest of it, 33 minutes it took, I think they got the rest of the calls right. I think
it was a menace, bro. No, but we're not going to be able to talk about this either. But if they get a play off and like Paul George gets a good shot and they win the game off that game winner, everybody's going to talk about the fact that it took them 33 minutes to finish those last 2 minutes. And that last 0.7 seconds took like 10 minutes because Ty Lue was like coaching people and he knew Reggie Jackson wasn't in the play before. He was just
Reggie Jackson knew he wasn't in the play.
He was like, hey, Nick Batum, remember what I told you like 2 minutes ago? Yeah, now go do it. Like, no one's going to talk about that also, but that was kind of smart.
So that's a good point. And I think that's what you're alluding to. These free timeouts, they always benefit the offensive team. I disagree with the broadcaster. Like, if they don't have to review the tip out, a lot after that Mikal Bridges missed shot with like 0.9 seconds left or whatever, before the Jay Crowder lob, that Monty doesn't get that play drawn up. I disagree. I think that's a play you haven't. Monty didn't just think about that. They've been over that. And like you said, they've run that play before. But do you agree kind of, and it's Clippers' fault. They were saying review it, and it ended up being Suns' ball, and Monty gets a free timeout. Do you kind of agree with where that stands? Because I think if it's not an official timeout, they can't leave the floor, but Monty can come on the floor. So it's still a timeout.
Yeah. And I don't know why they say leave on the floor, because they literally can just bundle up near near their bench. It's not like a big thing. I don't know. I mean, like, it hasn't caused too much concern because it's not like one team gets I know it benefits the offense just because they have the floor, but there's no like clear indicator that one side clearly benefits than the other team. Like, no team has taken a significant advantage besides maybe like Brad Stevens. But yeah, no, I mean, it's not too terribly an issue. I think the refs just need to get their act together a bit better, because they're like, Scott Foster's like tripping. Like, he definitely should have remembered 2 seconds ago when Nick Batum was on the court. Like, come on, man. Like,
well, to be fair, he's reviewing all this stuff about whether the game winner counts, and Tyler's like, hey, yo, Reggie, go in, Reggie. Go.
Yeah,
like, he's trying to slip it in. And I mean, I'm glad they got it right. But the broadcast was bugging out. Like, Mark Jackson was like, he can't do that. He can't do it. Yes, on the floor.
I know. Mark Jackson.
So I wouldn't have realized it. I didn't go to ref school, but I wouldn't have realized it. Let's talk a little Clippers. Like I said, I don't know if George will agree because, he's not a big Clipper guy. But ever since Game 6 of the Jazz, I've been rooting for this team because they remind me of that 19 team that took the Warriors to 6. They just have Paul George now, so they got some actual offense and they got an actual fight. Some Zubac 14-11, pretty damn serviceable. Ayton still had a great game, but Ayton always takes his spots and is going to get his stuff. And Luke Kennard goes 10 points in the fourth quarter. Like you said, PG, I think he had like 12 points in the fourth quarter. They're the only ones giving them anything. Then Reggie Jackson, another 26, but on 23 shots. Oh, no, that was Paul George. Sorry, some 15 for Reggie Jackson. George, who were like the main guys you saw for the Clippers this game?
It was Reggie Jackson again, PG. Marcus Morris struggled a lot, but it's basically been them two. I will say Pat Bev played pretty good defense on D-Book, besides when he headbutted him and broke his nose. I mean,
pretty good?
What?
George, read me Devin Booker's stats right now. I know you have him up.
He didn't shoot great.
He didn't shoot. He shot 31%, George. That's not pretty good defense. That's the guy that just had a 40-point triple-double in his first Western Conference Finals game ever.
Pretty good means yes.
No. They're using more than props. Pat Bev was in his goddamn grill.
George, there's a good percentage chance that Pat Bev could take Devin Booker. I mean, I'm sure Devin Booker will figure it out because it's Devin Booker, but there's a good chance Pat Bev can almost practically take Booker out of the series.
I wouldn't go that far, but yes.
We did see the height difference, though, on that one of the 5-game winners we saw, where Booker was able to just do hang time.
It was
and Pat Bev's just too small.
That's when they started putting Paul George on him. Same result. He just wasn't making it.
The one right before PG's, it was Pat Bev, but he was playing terrific defense up in his grill. He was just making it rough on him. Even the shots that Book was making, they were tough. But yeah, he's kind of a key. If he can neutralize him, the Clippers will have an easy time these next 2 games. So he gets his flowers there. But yeah, those role players on the Clippers, they got to make more shots. And they were making some pretty heavily contested ones. And I don't know if they can replicate that in Game 3, but there was still some role players that weren't that great that they could have stole the game if they were better.
Look, A couple fun facts. Booker last game, first triple-double since Nash in the playoffs for the Phoenix Suns. This game just ends up looking like Steve Nash.
They both got their nose broken.
Yeah. I don't know. That was a perfect – I hope, like, Booker and that lady got a picture because that lady was wearing, like,
The T-shirt.
a PacSun tee of Steve Nash's broken nose.
Yeah.
Nash's was a lot worse, but – and I thought it was a dirty play by Pat Bev on, like, eye test, and they reviewed it. I'm like, they just bumped noggins. A couple of kids having fun, you know.
I think it's just a Pat Bev stigma. You're just like, yeah, he is.
Well, because 2 minutes beforehand, they're just like, Campaign's dribbling the ball. He just tackles him. He's like, that's on me. That's my foul. That's my foul. And we're like, yeah, no, duh. Like you didn't touch him, but you just wrapped him up. But yeah, overall, we got lucky. We had one game. Great game. You like the one games more, or you like when you have a doubleheader on TNT in the playoffs?
I usually love the double headers just because it gives us more content.
Joshua?
I like 1-1 because the off days are kind of, I mean, for our schedule, it's probably better for the double headers. But I mean, I think I like every day. Only have to watch for like 3 hours.
I could just hear George talk about one game for like a half an hour. I don't mind it. I could just keep lobbing stuff to talk about. To close us out, what have your thoughts been on Rondo in these playoffs? Because he gets some run here, 17 minutes, 8 points. I don't like what I'm seeing from a whole lot, just as far as like running the offense and doing what he was brought in to do. But Josh, dude, we're not seeing playoff Rondo, but is he at least being serviceable and worth these minutes he's getting? Because he's battling DNPs.
Tyler's not utilizing him the way that Vogel and LeBron were utilizing him last playoffs. Because they're not giving him really free reign. Because Rondo's kind of like one of those people that's been in the league long enough where you kind of just have to trust and like risk like his decision making because he's been in here for so long. And I feel like Tyler's just running just a regular system. And I don't know. It kind of just seems like everything that Rondo can do is something Reggie Jackson or like somebody who knows how to put the ball in the basket can do. But Rondo can just do it a little bit cleaner. Like Rondo can make that little slice pass. Reggie Jackson probably can, but Reggie Jackson can also shoot and pull up from 3 at the same time. And Rondo's not really able to do that consistently. So I don't know. I don't really think that Tyler's utilizing him, but I don't think Rondo's really stepping up to the occasion because, no Kawhi is like.
Is Rondo like motivated right now, you think, or is it is it more Mavericks than Lakers?
I think the Kawhi thing kind of took him out a little bit. I don't think it's Mavericks like in full, but I mean, if I had to pick which side I was leaning on, it'd probably be more.
I mean, I'll also offer this. It is a little bit harder in this offense how they play because he's always had like a generational big to set up, whether it's a lob pass off like a spin to AD or feeding Garnett in the post. I mean, who's he really going to get the ball down to? Because
they gave Zubac 4 for 32. Why can't he make it work?
Zubac ain't going to finish like that at the rim. Is he really going to spin off a defender?
Okay, George, that's kind of unfair to say that Rondo's always had a generational big man.
I'm not saying I'm not like giving him Mickey Mouse, all time.
No. I know you're not.
They were up 2-0 on the Celtics before that damn wrist snaps.
I know you're not harping a credential thing, but Rondo's way more than a playmaker that needs a big man. Like he definitely can. Like we've seen it. Like the years without KG in Boston, he played great. That Chicago 2-0. Like you said, playoff run. Although I don't know if that was really a fluke or not.
Well, he had AD in one of his 5 locked-in playoff runs with the Pelicans, and another one he had AD with the Lakers. So George has some merit there. But Rondo's not like dependent. But I think this stage in his career, he needs a guy to set up, and there's not a whole lot of guys that need setting up because PG can run this offense better than anyone.
And then like who's he setting up?
Rondo was feeding Luke.
He's setting up Reggie Jackson to do like 5 dribbles in ISO and take a 3. His impact with setting guys up, unless it's like an open catch and shoot 3, he's still good in that. That's his bread and butter. But a lot of the guys can kind of create on their own, so it's a little bit different offensively. That's what I was trying to say.
Will we see a weird lineup for the Clippers next game? Because Tyler's known this whole playoffs. He's gonna throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks.
Are we gonna see like Patrick Patterson or something? Is that what you're saying?
Are we gonna see like Patrick Patterson? Or are we gonna see a Yogi Ferrell going between defenders' legs and stuff like it?
No, I don't think we'll see a wacky lineup to start, but I think we'll see one in the middle of the game, and then the lineup that works the best in Game 3 is gonna be your starting lineup in Game 4.
Yeah, I can see that working. George, Doctor, is Kawhi out for the playoffs? Is that what his injury would entail? Not what the Clippers are saying. What his injury would entail.
I don't think so because they've listed him day to day. The only thing that's tricky, it's just like it's his ACL, and at any moment he if he steps wrong to the side, I mean, his knee will give out, and you kind of have to weigh like the pros and cons. You know, you're already down 2-0. Can you come back again with a team as good as Phoenix? And then you look, is it worth risking it? Because if he tears something, you shorten your championship window by a lot, because he'd be out a lot of next season. So they're going to weigh like the pros and cons, how he feels, because he didn't look like he was limping like when he was courtside after they lost whatever game it was.
Because you don't want to piss him off because he is a free agent. And then when's the last time Kawhi was like, I'm hurt, I'm going to give it a go? He's a very long-term guy, very cautious guy without a load management.
And we've also seen him play on a bad knee. We saw it in 2019 against the Bucks. Like if he's able to go out there and know that he's fine, he will. So obviously this is pretty bad. So I don't expect to see him back. But if he did come back, I also wouldn't be like totally surprised.
So the injury they listed, that's not like a 2-week injury, right?
No, an ACL injury, yeah, no, that's probably like month. If you label it ACL, you could just say like sprained knee. ACL.
It's probably one of those injuries where it's like right now he could definitely play on it, but if he did, it would make it to the point where he can't play on it for 8 to 10 months.
So we're not going to see an Embiid type thing. We're not where he's playing all.
I don't know. I genuinely don't. If they win this game 3 without him, they might bring him back when Chris Paul comes back. They might.
Well, CP3's rumored for game 3.
We'll see.
We'll see. You think Taxer was up? CP3 playing game 3 or no?
Yes, I think he is.
I'm gonna say he has to.
Has to. They're up 2-0.
It's the Clippers state. It's the first Western Conference Finals for the Clippers. And as much as we bag on the Clippers, the Lakers
they do have
out.
18,000 fans. They can get they have like 20K total in LA. They can get them in there.
That's a sold out arena. Yeah.
They're gonna have Jake down there, Christian, they're gonna pull out all the stops.
The whole
funky bunch
Every
of Clipper fans
in the world ever is gonna
Clipper
be
Daryl, Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg's a Laker fan.
No, he switched over. Go check his Instagram.
Snoop Dogg's an LA fan. But
like Jacob Cizek.
Don't say that.
He's a California fan, Dodgers and Angels. I'm a Warriors fan and Lakers fan. You know the vibes. Let's go to the other series, boys. Bucks, Hawks, 3 seed versus 5 seed. In-depth preview. I mean, it starts today. Starts Wednesday tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, I'll start with you. How are the Bucks different from the Sixers? Because the Hawks took care of the Sixers, and we've all said Sixers are a better version of the Hawks.
I don't know why you're saying we. Who's we?
Me and Josh.
George.
The
Go Bucks, yeah.
But I agree that the Sixers are the Sixers are the better version of the Bucks.
So why don't you have the birds like me?
They have a defensive mindset point guard. They have a scoring wing. And they have a big man that seems like nobody can stop them. I personally think that, yes, while I think the Sixers are the better version of the Bucks, Giannis definitely has more of an athleticism trait than Embiid this playoffs, especially this playoffs because Embiid's meniscus. And I'm curious on who they put on Giannis because we talk about Capella. I think Capella's too slow, and I think Collins isn't long enough. To guard Giannis, and that's the big X factor for me. And Giannis has been feasting in this playoffs. Like he did what he had to do against Miami. He didn't shoot great. The thing is, Atlanta doesn't have as sturdy of a defense as some of the other teams they face. Like I don't even think they can get like timely stops. To be honest, like we talked about how the Nets get timely stops, and we've seen them lock down like Giannis. They did it like game 2 and a few other games where he kind of looked like a little human. But Atlanta doesn't like have anybody. I know Collins and Capella did what they did against.
So is this 2019 Hawks or this year's Hawks? Because Tobias Harris goes 35% for the series. Joel Embiid, yes, on one leg. They made some sort of adjustment, and he was not finding his rhythm in those last games. True. And they made Julius Randle look like Julius Randle rookie year with a broken leg.
Okay, but
this defense is there. You may not see it, but it's there.
A lot of those are like settling shots. It's not like I'm not seeing like Atlanta forcing those shots. I'm seeing like a lot of Embiid fadeaways when Embiid could just do 1-2 dribble inside, and like Julius Randle. Julius Randle is known for having one of the worst decision-making heads in NBA history.
You know who also does? George will attest to this. Giannis Antetokounmpo. You give him the
Very
ball,
much
it's a 3.
so.
It's a
Very
3.
much so.
So this isn't some like premier Bucks offense,
Yeah.
It's not,
passes like that. No, they don't know what the hell to do half the time because Bud's like, we're gonna do us.
Such a
and we're gonna
low
see what's
IQ
happening.
offense.
Yeah.
So Charles Barkley said it best. I mean, I just told George when I said on the podcast, they're just dumb. Like the Bucks are a dumb team. That's why I'm not worried about like them outsmarting like the Hawks and getting better shots.
But let me give you a. Can you agree that Philly lost the series versus Atlanta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So I don't think
nice quote.
I don't think Atlanta or Milwaukee's going to do the same things that Philly does, especially. And the thing is, they have the same defensive unit. Basically, the only thing I was really worried about was if they can have a guard to guard Trae Young. They have Drew Holiday.
See,
And they won't have DiVincenzo, but they have Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday probably might be able to guard Trae Young a bit closer just because he's not going to rely so much on his height and he's like learned to play like with his 6'3" frame. He might guard Trae Young a bit better than Ben Simmons did.
So would you say the Bucks have more to throw at Trae than the Sixers? Because I broke it down here. Not really broke down. I wrote down some names. But for the Sixers, it was Ben Simmons, Danny Green, and then Matisse Thybulle. And then for the Bucks, it's Holiday, Middleton, and probably PJ Tucker. We'll get some run on him.
I don't think PJ Tucker will get run on Trae Young.
No, he's not.
He's
too
a little
fast.
bit too slow.
I hope not. Trae
He
Young
might get blown by.
So in theory, Sixers have more to throw at Trae.
Yeah,
and Trae didn't struggle, but
here's the thing: if Bud doesn't play Holiday 30 minutes, if Bud just plays Holiday the same amount of minutes Trae Young plays, Trae Young's practically has to fight for every single bucket. And I know they like to pick and roll a lot more. I think, and that's where Giannis's athleticism comes in. We're not going to see as many floaters for Trae Young because guess who's 8'1" wingspan is grabbing it out of the air.
Brook Lopez, baby.
And even though the Bucks are dumb offensively, I think they've shown enough. Even though it's a Mickey Mouse win against the Nets, they did what they had to do to beat the Nets. And even with Kate, like they shouldn't have won that series. Even with KD and like Harden being half limbed, like they probably shouldn't have won that series. I'm interested to see how Hunter guards Middleton because
Hunter is out.
He's not coming
out
back,
for the
man.
season. He's out for the season.
He's seasoned.
Oh, never mind.
I covered it briefly on the solo. Like he's just, I was sad. Like he's out.
I'm interested to see who they put on Middleton and how they guard him because as much as I think Tobias Harris is a better scorer,
baby.
Gosh, as interested as I am, and the difference between Tobias Harris and Middleton is there. I think I don't know. Middleton's he's kind of shown out in these playoffs. Like he's had a couple games where he's like fluked out and just kind of like absolutely.
He's had 3 good games.
Hit the dirt.
As someone who's watching the Bucks heavily, and someone who's Bucks
but he's
the Bucks
been
won
like
the $150.
Like,
no,
he
he
hasn't
has
had
not.
any bad games. He hasn't had any bad games.
He's had like 2
like
really
one.
good ones and then
One or
like 3
2.
really bad ones.
Yeah.
You said he hasn't had a bad game. And George,
I said
the Bucks lover, said he
games.
had 3 dog doo-doo games.
He had 1 or 2 bad games.
All right, let me get George in on this. And it's about the Stars, so we're going to keep it that way. I'll get his opinion on this. I like John Collins on Giannis. I don't like him to stop him, but they had Blake Griffin on Giannis, and it went 7 games without Kyrie and Harden. So John Collins is probably the best player to put on him. He was guarding Randall, and then he was guarding Embiid probably better than Capella. And he always has that Tito or Capella for Giannis on the perimeter. So is it a 40-piece for Giannis every night, or can John Collins kind of, put Giannis in some uncomfortable situations, George?
I mean, maybe a little bit, but I expect him to get what he wants kind of every time. And it's not going to be him, bull diving to the paint every time. He can get those hooks. And, we saw like that crucial, what was it, to tie the game, I think, in overtime. He got that like hook shot over KD. That he can get that every time over Collins. So if he just knows to do that and live there, because, like we've seen, he'll come up the paint, he'll come up the floor and just jack a 3 up. So I feel like if he's a lot more grounded offensively, he can really get what he wants. Because, Collins he's strong, but I don't even know if he's as strong as Blake Griffin, but he can get around him. He can get over him like at will. So I feel like this is really another series for him to dominate like we saw last series.
Yeah, I think Giannis can have 40 if he does what you said, but I can make a mixtape of Giannis's post moves for the past 3 years, and it's about 45 seconds long. It's like the Ben Simmons shooting montage, essentially. He doesn't know when he has no bag in the paint, and that play sums it up exactly. When he drives it on Blake stops him. He goes back to the 3-point line, drives again, and he gets stopped. He has no post like moves. He's like afraid to do them, and he settles for threes. That's why I think the Hawks can kind of take advantage of that.
I do want to add a point about the defenders of the Sixers versus the Bucks. Yeah, I mean, you could say that they match up a little bit better, but I will say the defenders of the Bucks, like the Middletons, PJ, and Drew, they are better offensively in my opinion. I know Drew and Chris kind of struggled last series, but they have a higher offensive ceiling. You know, Chris can give you like 35 to 40. You know, Matisse and Ben aren't even getting you 10. Drew was big in that fourth quarter against Brooklyn, so I feel like it's a little bit different there. That's why I like them more than I did the Sixers, just because those guys can really help out Yanni with scoring. It was literally in some quarters it was Embiid and Seth, and that's all they were getting with field goal attempts, and that's not going to happen with the Bucks.
Come on, man.
Seth Curry.
I'm still second best player on the Sixers, Seth Curry. That's so stupid. Well, I was looking up the season series because I was intrigued. I'm not going to count the last one, the April 25th one, just because Trae Young didn't play, even though the Hawks won that game.
I want to count it then.
Okay. We'll count it. So the Bucks won the season series 2-1. All the games were relatively close. The Bucks won like between 10 and 15 points. And I guess we won't count the game where they had Lloyd Pierce coaching them because, you know, that was a different team. One. So we'll go 1-1. Yeah. So I mean, I know I said Bucks in 4 very quickly because I was just like, there's no way Atlantic will keep this up. I'm gonna stick with it just because it's funny at this point. And also I don't know. I think that Milwaukee's kind of, it's such a stupid path to the final. It's like such an easy path to the final. Not discounting, not trying to like discount Trae Young.
So the Sixers playing the 8 seed Wizards and then going through these Hawks wasn't easier than what the Bucks had to go through.
Well, they didn't get to the Hawks, so that shows a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the Bucks got to play the Heat, their first demon, which was nice for them.
And
so they got
super team Big Bad Nets.
Don't say super.
What did Giannis do with Eric Bledsoe? That he's better than Ben Simmons. So it's not the Sixers' fault.
They played a normal basketball team. It's one superstar, one pretty good player, and then the rest are borderline bench / starter players. That's who they played. They didn't play a super team. They didn't play a super team, George. They did not. I'm going to tell you that right now. And now they play Atlanta, who shouldn't even be there, might I add. They're not even playing the team that we were talking about the entire season. Oh, this is the team that's going to like beat the brakes off them if they play. They better not play Philly. And I mean, it's not their fault or anything, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to underestimate Atlanta like the rest of the league did, like how we did, just because they've had 2 series under their belt. They know what to expect. They have
What
film.
makes you think the Bucks are mentally strong and won't underestimate them?
They got over their first round defense.
They beat Kevin Durant in a closing game. That's enough to swing.
And if he has size 17 feet,
why would they get comfortable in a conference
if
finals?
Kyrie
that's not
doesn't land on his foot?
I don't think their mentality is just like, oh, it's just another series.
I don't know why
you
know you can update your prediction, right? You don't have to say the Hawks are still going out in the first round. They're a conference finals talent now. Like, I don't understand why you don't.
They're not. They're not though. They're not.
You had the Knicks winning, right? You had the Knicks win the first round.
I did have
Hawks
the Knicks
beat them. Yeah, the Sixers win the second round. Hawks beat them.
No, Sixers beat themselves.
Thanks, Russell Westbrook. Thanks, Russell Westbrook.
No. I gave it to you once. You don't get to play it now the whole time.
I'm gonna play it the whole time because it's the right thing. Up 60-42, Game 4, semifinals, in a stadium they were like 29
team. We should have seen this coming.
You're also like,
we didn't.
The Bucks beat the Hawks in the regular season. It's the Bucks in the regular season. Remember those guys and how they changed in the playoffs?
They
don't change.
You know what, George? Who has the coaching advantage in this series?
Oh, it's definitely the Hawks, but
Atlanta.
But I mean, who had the coaching advantage in the Heat Bucks series? Spo did. That didn't prove to be anything.
And it was a neck and neck battle between Bud and first-time coach Steve Nash. I'm gonna say this right now. I'm gonna say Bucks in 4, but I think that if Atlanta wins this series, it's gonna be like a scrappy 6 or 7. There's no way they take them to the cleaners. That's
Bucks
like the
5.
one thing I can't.
They got more firepower.
And I think this definitely fits well with your thing in the first round, where you said like the longer the series goes, the harder it's going to be for Milwaukee to win the series.
I wasn't wrong last round, Lehman.
I'm going to stick with you on that one.
We agreed, George. Stop. We agreed on the Bucks. The Bucks
George,
won me $150.
George, I don't know why. George, do you want credit too? Remember, Lehman and George. Remember when you guys said the harder it is? Like I don't.
No, he didn't say that.
Yeah, I said that.
No,
Oh
but
goodness.
I think I'm gonna stick with Bucks in 4. I don't think this is gonna be a pretty series. However, I would love to be proven wrong, and I'd love to see a great Eastern Conference Final series because these are the two teams I didn't want to see.
Also, George just said the Bucks have more firepower. No, they don't. They don't have more firepower. They have their big three and Brook Lopez. The Hawks got all the white boys that ATL can muster. They got Trae Young. They got John Collins who can snap for 30.
John Collins cannot snap for 30. He hasn't scored over 10 since the first round. Stop saying that.
That's simply not true.
John Collins gets locked down every time. Every time.
That's not true.
Don't say John Collins is going to snap. John Collins is not good offensively when put on a basic defender. If anybody that's not like a 6'8" white guy is guarding John Collins is not snapping, okay?
Tell me which of these guys can't score 20 points. Obviously, we got Trae Young. Obviously, we have John Collins.
No,
Obviously.
no, he can't.
What do you mean? He can't score 20 points.
I don't think he can.
I bet you he'll score 20 points at least twice this series. Even if it's a sweep, I bet he scores 20 points.
Twice?
I might take you up on that later. I'm gonna look up John Collins' playoff stats because
okay. Well, then I'll keep talking with George.
Keep going.
Bogdan, he can score 20, right, George?
Yeah, but he's not really healthy right now. But yeah, he can.
You keep putting asterisks. It's a yes or no.
Yes.
He can.
Gallinari.
Absolutely.
No.
Yes, Gallinari's probably the second guy that
he's been horrible in the playoffs.
He's horrible, but
Game 7 closeout, 30 minutes, 17 points.
So not 20.
6 for 13.
So not 20.
Only hit 2 players scored 20. Trae Young and K'Von Huerter. That was an ugly game. They scored 103
I would say it's like Trae, Huerter, Bogey, and maybe Lewell can get you a random 20.
So when we count my John Collins, that's 5 people who can get you 20 points.
Okay.
Don't say
Milwaukee is way less deep. Way.
Yanni
way
can,
more
Brooke
shallow.
can, Drew can, Chris. If 4,
Brooke,
okay, fine.
Brooke,
4 people.
Brooke
and John Collins are in the same category.
No,
if you count John Collins, we're counting
how about
Brook
this?
Lopez.
John
That's
Collins will have a better average than Brook Lopez this
Brooke
series.
had 19 in the closeout game. Just saying.
All right. I have to take it back. John Collins has scored 20 points 3 times. However, he's had 2 games where he scored under 10, and he has a donut.
He has a donut. I know he has a donut. I know. But they're winning this series.
Donut though, he didn't win. Okay, John Collins might be an X factor offensively because every game where he scores under 10, they lose.
Oh no, you're switching up. We're losing. We're losing the recipe.
Yes. And you want to take me up on that? John Collins will have a better average this series than Brook Lopez.
No, I'll take you on the 20 points thing. I'm not going to take you on the Brook Lopez thing because I think Brook Lopez. I don't think Brook Lopez.
Remember
Canes
this
is on the line, baby. Canes is on the line.
I'll buy you Canes. You'll buy me. Yeah, we'll do Canes.
Yeah. Oh, what? So,
John Collins has to score. Doesn't matter what he averages. Doesn't matter about Brook Lopez. If he scores 20 points more than
once.
So twice. So more than once. Yeah. If he doesn't more than once, then I owe you Canes. But if he doesn't score more than 20 points.
So 0 and once, I owe you chicken. Twice and above, you do. I think he's going to have like 5 20-point games. So, I mean, I'm sitting pretty.
5 20-point games in a 4-game series?
I'm sitting pretty damn pretty.
I'm a double or nothing you when they play Phoenix in the finals.
No. Jay Crowder's going to be in his goddamn grill. They got so many defenders, they get to put Jay Crowder on John Collins. Want to make a bet, George?
No. George, I know you're the Bucks guy, but what's your prediction?
I have Bucks in 5. I kind of think it's going to be a Yanni takeover, kind of what we saw last series. And then I'm just really expecting Drew and Chris to actually be
I can't believe I'm rooting for the Bucks because I said it. I'm rooting for Atlanta. I'm not rooting for Milwaukee.
Drew and Chris were about as bad as you could be in a series win. Like Chris was just inconsistent. Like he had that 38-point game 6, but the rest of the series he was doo-doo. Drew was just bad all series except that fourth quarter of game 7. So if they can just be like average, they'll win that series handedly, in my opinion.
George, I'm being straight up. There's no like sarcasm here. There's not a punchline. What did the Bucks do last series to make you think, they can make the finals?
I mean, they just they responded well in a lot of scenarios, and I mean, the defense was all right against the Nets team that was kind of handicapped. Their offense was a lot better. Yanni was pretty good. Their 3-point shooting was nice at times. So I feel like I know like the Nets weren't a big bad defense that they got over, but they did what they had to do, like Josh said. And I feel like the Hawks, they can get away with a lot of the stuff that they got away with last series as well. So that's why I'm confident.
Let me help George out a little bit. They left no crumbs when playing Miami, and they won a very pivotal game 6 that I was a firm believer they would lose. I thought that the Nets would come in there, Harden and Durant would combine for like 94, and they'd get blown out the water because that's the Milwaukee team I was expecting. They beat the brakes off. They didn't just like win. They beat the brakes off the Nets in game 6. And then in game 7, they held it to overtime, even though Katie's big foot prevented that. They took away everything that wasn't named Kevin Durant, because you can't take away Kevin Durant.
So I guess I'll wrap this up and I'll give my Hawks case. You kind of made it for me. That all they had to do was guard Kevin Durant, and they took away everyone else, but everyone else got took away themselves.
Who on Atlanta is Kevin Durant-esque?
No one, but they're more of a team than the Nets, and the Bucks struggle guarding teams.
Kevin Durant scores more than Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, and John Collins on most nights combined. Sometimes.
Okay, but there's more passing with the Hawks. There's better defense with the Hawks and the Nets. They're a completely different team than the Nets, and the Bucks barely scraped them. The Bucks are not a good team defense. Their rotations are lacking because of that big MF Brook Lopez slow on the perimeter.
What if they just play Giannis at center?
Well, then that would be an issue.
That's one adjustment.
And then who's going to make it?
That's a lot of.
Coach Bud's going to make it. Oh, thank God, Coach Bud is going to win the series for his coaching. That's good. No, the Bucks did not show me. They showed me they should have lost that series. That's what they showed me. Yeah, they showed me they should have been a Nets Hawks.
They should have lost it. They should be Nets Sixers. Stop saying Hawks. It should be Nets Sixers. I'm so angry. So keep going.
But I mean, you agree. The Nets had no one else, so you just get to zone it on KD. And KD, he scored 50 most games. But and then one got to stop. One got to stop.
You're not just casually say KD scores 50. That's crazy, dude. Let's say right now, Drew Holiday shuts down Trae Young like a similar amount than Ben Simmons did, right? Mm-hmm. Who do they have, Atlanta, to not only cover up the slack that KD had, and then on top of that, add more points?
You just said Trae Young got locked down last series, and who moved on? Trae Young and the Hawks. They have these other guys that come out of nowhere.
They lost the series because they don't play offense, and George has a point. George has a point. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, PJ Tucker, and Giannis have a significantly better offensive skill set than the Sixers.
Oh, there we go.
Are you saying that Chris, mid-range only Middleton, and Giannis, run of the paint and dunk it, have a better bag than Joel Embiid?
It's not about the bag.
Tobias Harris.
It's not about the bag.
Seth Curry doesn't count. He doesn't play. He's not a top defender. We're talking about the two-way players of the Sixers. Seth Curry gets lost on defense. We're talking.
I can't wait till it's a close game and Ice Trae the gang. He just hit the three.
Remember what Drew did to Dame in 2019? We'll be back.
I will say, I am scared of Holiday guarding Trae. He's probably gonna put him in hell. I just thought about like being guarded by that big MF Drew Holiday, and it just scares me, like personally, like if he had to guard me, like and me and Trae are like the same size.
His wife survived cancer, man. This guy's not afraid of anything.
And he went to UCLA, so he's battle tested.
Nope, no, he's not. Nope, don't say that. Don't say that.
When's the last time UCLA won a national championship, George?
You know, we got close this year.
Kareem.
Oh, you know who got close? Kevin Durant and the Nets, and Joel Embiid and the Sixers. Let's move on.
Right. What's your prediction, though?
I got Birds in 6.
Okay.
Bucks in 5.
They're not taking the cleaners. Bucks are getting 2 games.
They sweep. You're gonna be down a miserable man.
I'll say this right now. I'm not hiding. I went 1 for 4 in my semifinals predictions. Not the games, the winners. So, and if Kevin Durant doesn't have that big ass foot, I'm 0 for 4, and I probably take my post duties to George. So thank God for that shot. But I'm confident in this one. I'm even more confident in my Suns in 5 prediction. I'm really confident in that one. But this one, my head and heart say the Birds, and I don't want to pick someone that I'm not rooting for. Although
I personally don't really care. Like the series is just so like out of pocket for me. Like I just wasn't mentally ready for it. That I'm just like, you know what, Milwaukee surprised me.
What's out of pocket these playoffs were? I keep saying the Bucks only $150 in like my bracket with all my boys. You know, Danny Stipp, all those boys. All 4 of the top 4 teams. I'm the only one that got one team right. And it was the Bucks. Everyone else had none of the teams in the top 4.
That's wonky playoffs, but very fun.
That's how wacky they are. But yeah, I just got the birds. Let's move on though. Quickly here, the draft lottery results. They came out on Tuesday. Detroit #1, and then to round out the
Motown ball.
To round out the top 5, let me make sure I find it. Yeah, so 1 Pistons, 2 Rockets, 3 Cavaliers, 4 Raptors, and 5 Magic. Thunder hit the 6.
4.
All that tanking for nothing, huh?
How much did I didn't watch the lottery. I didn't watch it with Tatum.
What do you mean all that tanking, George?
Did you see their lineups?
The Raptors have such a clean set of like players they can build around, and they have a chance to draft a generational talent at number 4. I
said all that tanking. I said all that tanking for nothing. They were throwing out like Theo Maldone, Moses Brown, Pokuševski.
Oh, he's talking about the Thunder.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were talking about Toronto. I was like,
no.
How much did? Because I didn't watch the draft, and I know this is my host duty, but I didn't. The Thunder. How far did they slip? What were they supposed to get?
They were supposed to be top 3. I believe they fell to 6.
Yikes!
Because,
and big loser.
Cleveland slipped in there.
The T-Wolves also fell. Yeah. They were supposed to keep their pick. It fell to 7, which meant the Warriors got it. So they were a pretty big loser in the lottery.
So yeah, we'll just go, classic winner-loser situation. I'll start with George. Biggest winner.
Definitely the Warriors. They got that mini pick from the D'Lo trade, and they also have their own, which was 14. So they have assets to maybe flip for a star and one more run with the Warriors dynasty next season with the star potentially.
What would you do with that? You have 7 and 14. And you already drafted Wiseman. Are you committing? Well, you can't commit to a young rebuild because you got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
And and the thing is, 7 and 14. Not to like shit on the draft prospects. That's just not that good to run it with Steph and Klay and Draymond. And they're pretty decent enough where you can attach them and Wiseman or maybe even Wiggins to get like a bona fide superstar that can get you in a deep playoff run.
Josh, real quick, what would you do with the Warriors picks? To piggyback on George.
Give me a sec. I just wanna check something. So recently, just a few notable names that have been drafted number 7 because George is getting mad. You can't build it. Harrison Barnes, Julius Randle, Jamal Murray. Steph Curry was also 7.
I'm so glad Julius Randle would totally produce a championship run next season if he was.
He just won MIP and he was 5th in MVP voting.
Yeah, so I don't know what George. I don't know what George is attacking. I'm gonna agree with George though. I definitely think that they should trade them because there are a lot of teams that are very desperate for those picks. I just wanted to make fun of George for saying.
Hold on, I don't know why you're saying Randle like he didn't break his leg the first year and wasn't MIP until his 5th season.
What is he on about? Randle's a good player at number 7.
He's
What's
a great
happening?
Player. I'm saying that a player right now drafted at 7 can't contribute to a winning season with Steph Curry. You're not gonna be able to win. You have to either.
True.
You saw what they did with.
We've seen multiple guys drafted after 7.
George, Harrison Barnes got drafted 2 years before Julius Randle. First year they made the playoffs. Second year they made the playoffs. Third year they made the finals. George, Harrison Barnes contributor all 3 years.
Donovan Mitchell as a rookie led the Jazz to the 6th seed and a 2nd round playoff.
And
he was drafted 13th.
Stop being dumb for 1 second.
The draft is a crapshoot, George, especially until the top 20. Like you just pick whoever. Oh, that guy looks pretty neat.
Just saying,
All right, who knows what's gonna happen?
All right,
are you gonna draft? What?
I'm gonna save George a little bit because George is panicking. A lot of the players in the 7 range are prospects, like pure prospects. This draft isn't really built on players that are ready for the playoffs. So because of that, I think that they should trade it because there's teams that are desperate. They can get players like George said who are veterans that can contribute to a winning season, but it's not because the 7th pick and 7 and 14 pick have stigmas around it. It's just because all the players this year are prospects. I think there are like 3 players that are probably ready to contribute to a winning season right now in this draft, and the rest are they're 50. They're not 50-50s, but like they're going to need time.
You're totally right. You can find guys like the Spidas and like the guys you mentioned. But I'm just saying, would you rather have that and it's a question mark, like you don't know if they're going to contribute or not? Or get yourself a Beal or a Levine or some other star that you
I don't think I'm going to keep it honest with you. I don't think either of those teams are really biting the bullet on. No one's going to take that trade. No one's going to go like, oh, Beal for like 2 firsts
or like a potentially like a
because
Paul George. If
now that they're not going to get Paul George, I'll tell you that. But now that the draft is set in stone, those picks already lost value because there's no question mark of like how bad they're going to be.
You think it would have been better if the Warriors traded the T-Wolves pick before?
Yeah, if the Warriors had a confident if the Warriors were more confident earlier in the year, like, oh, Minnesota's going to like do bad, that pick has higher value because again, that pick was top 3. I mean, this is kind of hindsight and it dropped to 7, but just any example, the longer that a pick doesn't get traded, the less value it has because
it's
now
like
they know what they get. They now get what they want and they now know what they'll have at 7. But yeah, that's kind of my thing. I think the biggest winner, since we'll get back on that topic, is Houston because there's 2 big prospects and I didn't really know what direction Houston wanted to go to. They don't have that stress anymore. Pistons are going to take one of them and they'll take the other. Very simple.
Yeah, I was wondering why no one picked Detroit as the #1 winner. But
they need it, man. They just need it. I think Houston wins.
And you make a good point. Yeah, there's 2 guys. Couldn't tell you their names, but I know there's 2 guys that are
Cade Cunningham and Mobley.
Evan Mobley, yeah.
So yeah, Mobley's a big boy, right?
So excited for Houston.
If Mobley's a 7-footer.
If you are, I think he's like 7'4" or something.
And he has a handle. He has a really nice handle.
Mobley,
yeah.
I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. If you're an NBA fan and you want to pick a team, pick the Houston Rockets.
Christian Wood and Evan Mobley front court.
That's
I will say with Detroit though, Lehman, since you made a point about him, they are actually building something nice. I assume they're going to take Cade. He's probably a lock for #1. They have Sadiq Bey, who made an All-Rookie team. They have Jeremy Grant, who we all love.
Killian Hayes, who I don't know what they're going to do with him.
Yeah.
He can play the 2. He was playing the 2 at some points in the season.
He cannot. They can put Cade at the 2.
I guess we'll get into
Cade
who
is
should
more
Detroit
of a
take
wing.
first. Because we're just talking Detroit now. Who should Detroit take?
They got to take Cade.
Cade. He's a playmaker. He's 6'8". He can score.
Does he slip in perfectly? Or is it kind of like we're going to move some stuff around, just take the best player available?
No, it's a dream scenario. They can put him wherever they want. He can play like 1 to 4. Yeah, he can play like 1 to 4 on most.
You say he's 6'8"?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a big boy.
and he has a handle because he spent the whole year playing point guard for Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
So
and he does seem like, I don't know if he wants to go to Detroit, but he's fine with going to Detroit. They're the first pick. So he's only meeting with Detroit. I think Anthony Edwards only met with Minnesota. I think when these guys know they're going to be number 1.
Lonzo only met with the Lakers.
Well, they were number 2. He was just a weird. They're a weird bunch.
Ayton only met with Phoenix, and at the end he went, "I know I'm going #1." And
yeah.
number 1.
So luckily, we don't have a thing where like everyone's like, "I'm not going to Memphis," and Jaren Jackson's like, "I mean, sure, why not?" Like, but
I think these guys just want to get drafted, man.
Detroit is and #1 pick. It's a pretty big bump from the rest of everyone as far as pay wise. He left. But yeah, Pistons are building something good, like George said. It started with Dwayne Casey getting extended. You want to keep stability, and you want to build a culture there. And Dwayne Casey had buying in on defense when they weren't good. That's hustle. That's coaching. So good for the Pistons. Oh, there he is. What happened, George?
I got booted.
Okay. Losers. We'll start with Josh.
It's got to be OKC or Minnesota.
Well, Minnesota loses their pick, but it is only the 7th. It could have been 4th. Like, imagine you lose the 4th pick because there's only top 10.
I mean, I think that's. I'm gonna say Oklahoma just because. I don't. You know what? I don't even know. Let me come back to me because
George, you got a loser.
Oklahoma's building.
I mean, I'm gonna say this because I know Costa was pissed yesterday. The Bulls did lose their pick, which came in the Vooch trade. And the Vooch trade hadn't looked great this season for them. So that might be a little bit of a loss. It's not like they're not.
It was top 4 protected too, right?
Yeah, and they did have a decent shot of getting top 4. So
well, they got the 8th pick, right?
The Magic got it.
It went to the Magic. They didn't go 4.
Yeah, but were they expecting to get a top 4? They didn't have a great chance.
They were close. I mean, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a huge loss, but I'm saying losing a pick in a trade that hasn't looked great for him, it's a little bit of a loss. Because
can I change my winner? Can I change my winner real quick?
Sure,
Orlando has 2 top 10 picks. They have the 5th and the 8th.
I was about to talk about that. Yeah,
I forgot. I completely forgot about that. They're at 5 and 8.
They also did they have two top 8 picks. They have the 5 and the 8 pick.
I remember we were going to talk about that earlier.
Oh my God, they're going to surround Cole Anthony with generational talent. I'm so excited.
Don't say surround Cole Anthony. Like he's a generational.
They did kind of get.
He's not even the best point guard on
They
his
did
team.
kind of get shafted. They had much better odds than what they got. They were bottom of the barrel, and they ended up with 5 with their own pick. And then the Bulls, that's top 4 protected. They do end up getting it, but it's at 8.
Their rebuild has honestly been it's gone under the radar. They did, they got RJ Hampton, Gary Harris. They have 2 top 10 picks. Jonathan Isaac's going to come back. Fultz is going to come back. Another year of Cole Anthony. Sorry, Josh. Terrence Ross is still there. Obviously, they're probably not going to be making noise this season, but they do have a nice future. And if they do get a head coach that can bind
the rebuild looks a lot better when these picks are top 10 coming from the Bulls, because they're supposed to be, a bottom 20 from the Bulls. Now they're
because Vooch was supposed to have high.
Because I would trade Vooch for the 8 pick if I'm the Magic. I'm going nowhere, and they have another pick next year from the Bulls too.
They do.
Who knows what the Bulls are going to be?
I got a loser.
Give me a loser.
The Pelicans, because if you look at everybody after the Magic, you get the Kings, Hornets, Spurs, Pacers, Warriors. They all have certain pathways they can go. Pelicans are just kind of stuck.
I mean, they got Zion and Bi. They're not losing sleep. They
just haven't proven they can win together. They have 2.
The roster construction has been a little bit poor than I would like.
You just talked about how good their roster was. So which side is it, George?
When
they have Zion and they have
both sides.
Well, yeah, I'm saying they're not surrounding the
So
right
what do they do with the pick,
Zion.
George? Like, what do they do with the pick? Do they trade it? Do they draft another guy?
Attach it with Eric Bledsoe or Steven Adams and get one of them out of there.
They're not going to trade Steven Adams. Nobody wants his contract.
Also, Eric Bledsoe, I think a free agent.
Whoops.
No one's signing and trading for Eric Bledsoe, George. If you can name me like 3 teams that would step up to the plate to sign
Thunder would do it.
I think I know the common ground you're trying to find. The Pelicans have good players, but it's messy.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad
Josh,
someone knows.
Do you agree with that?
I agree, but
okay, all right.
That's the whole.
You two get back to talking then. I just want to make sure. You guys are on the same page, same coin, different sides.
We shouldn't deny it. Lonzo is a great passer and defender. Zion's a borderline B generational talent, and Brandon Ingram is a great scorer. They have good pieces, but they don't mesh well, and that's a big issue. And now they have
David
a 10th pick.
Good stuff.
And they keep sucking picks. What did they draft? At 10, they've had like Austin Rivers and they've had Jackson Hayes. Those are 2 number 10 picks. What are they going to do this time? I'm curious. I don't know.
Probably someone worse.
Probably.
David Griffin is not meant to draft. He's meant
David
to.
Griffin's going to draft the Latvian wonder in hopes that he becomes Luka Doncic instead of drafting like whoever the Hornets get. Oh my gosh, the Hornets are going to get like a generational talent just because the Pelicans are drafting before them.
I guess to kind of, I want to get back on the Magic for like 1 more minute. Would you keep those picks, Josh? Because you're trying to. You wouldn't like package them to trade up.
Yeah, no, I have a player in mind. He's kind of like Jonathan Isaac. He's a little shorter. I think he's like 6'9". He started to develop his shot toward the end of his college season. It's Scotty Barnes. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it, but he started. He same situation as Patrick Williams, but I think he's a lot more polished than Pat Williams was. He came off the bench at Florida State. I don't know what Florida State's doing. They just all their top 5 guys bench. It's a weird program over there.
Florida State always just be developing these
but it always works. I like Barnes probably the best defensive package coming out. From this draft, I think he has probably the best defensive game. He probably can guard the 1 to 5 eventually in the league if he develops properly. And the Magic need shooters and they need guys that can defend because that backcourt is horrible on defense. I mean, besides Gary Harris,
who's the 2 guard? It's
Gary Harris right now.
Fultz is coming back though.
I'm assuming it's going to be a combination of Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton, and Markelle Fultz. That's a pretty bad defensive backcourt. I think they need shooters, consistent shooters, and I think they need defenders. Scotty Barnes could turn into a 3-and-D for them, and he has like a Jonathan Isaac-esque build where he's too tall for his position and he has a great wingspan, but he still moves like he's 6'6".
So George, before Josh keeps talking about deep packages, I have a question for you to end it off.
Yeah,
Josh can hop in on this too. Team in the top 5 of the lottery most likely to make the playoffs next year. And I'm including they have to be they can get the 10th seed, but they have to make the playoffs. They got to play a 4-game series.
Okay. It's definitely Toronto. They weren't too far off this year. They just they didn't play a game at home. They had a lot of COVID and injuries. They kind of just fell off, and their core intact as long as they bring back Freddie V, and we'll see what happens with Lowry. They'll have a great core adding in that rookie. And Nick Nurse, he always coaches up better than sometimes the talent shows. They do have great talent there though, so I'm expecting them to get back to the playoffs this year.
Josh,
I want to agree with George because that's the obvious pick. And
don't take my pick. Don't do it.
I think I know what your pick's going to be.
Is it Cleveland?
Go Cleveland. I got the Rockets.
Oh, okay. I thought Cleveland was next.
You have the Rockets? I think
the
it's
West
too
is
hard
tough.
for them in the West.
The West is tough.
I'm gonna agree with you that I think Houston will probably be the best team coming back.
I agree with you
year.
that George took the obvious pick. It's the Raptors.
George took the obvious pick just because
I didn't want to be wrong.
I mean, if you want to go Houston, I'm not going to take your pick, but they definitely well suited up. You know what? I'll take Cleveland. They have Colin Sexton, they have Jared Allen, they have a whole nother year. They don't have to worry about I don't want to play Andre Drummond. They get a guy at 4. They get a guy at 4 who are 3. They have a Coro too who made an all-rookie team. They're really set. They're pretty young, but I think Colin Sexton has a little bit more energy than most of the young guys in the league right now. And I don't know who they're going to draft, but drafting somebody at 3 is just something you can't really pass up. So they're pretty well set off. I'm curious what they do with Mr. Sad Boy Kevin Love. And once they figure that out, this team is a drama.
Well, he's playing for Team USA, so
yeah. Maybe he gets refreshed. I don't know, but this is a drama-free club without Kevin Love. So as long as they get rid of him, draft who they need to at 3, they have a good shot of making at least the play-in.
What position do you go if you're the Cavs?
See, it's tough.
They got Sexland, Okoro at small forward, Nance at power forward, and Jared Allen at center.
See, it's tough because the guys that they are supposed to pick are big guards, like the Green and the Suggs. So it's kind of difficult to let go of somebody, especially since Garland had that great year this year, where he actually looks like a true point guard. I personally would like if they traded down, got some more bench assets, and then drafted maybe because at the back end of the draft, there's a lot of guys that are literally just Jonathan Isaac replicas, and they just take one of them, and then they kind of flip-flop him and Larry Nance. Well,
one name that is at the back end of the top 5 that they could reach on a little bit is Kuminga. He's Lehman and I talked about this. I don't know when.
He's the worst shooter I've ever seen in my life.
But they don't necessarily need offense because they got a good backcourt, and they also do have a core.
George, a league where offense continues to overpower defenses, they definitely need more offense.
We have also seen guys.
They've already given up a position in Jared Allen, maybe 2 with Nance.
Who are the top 4 teams in the playoffs right now, Josh? It's the Hawks, great defense. Bucks, great defense. Suns, great defense. No. They were top 5 regular season.
They had a lot better defense.
And then Clippers, who locked in on defense. Although they're probably the most offensive oriented team in the playoffs.
And also, he was a lot better at the end of his G League season shooting. And people do come into their own with jump shooting. I mean, we've seen guys go. Hey, LaMelo was shooting 29% in Lithuania.
Okay. Going back on the point that Lehman had, who are the top 4 teams in the league right now. Bucks have Giannis. Atlanta has Trae Young. Clippers have Paul George and Kawhi sometimes. And Suns have Devin Booker. They're all generating. I think Colin Sexton is on the same par as those guys.
I hear 2 DPOY's names in that, Josh. So defense does matter.
I'm not talking about defense. I'm talking about the fact that they have
named 2 DPOYs.
But Josh, Trae Young gets taken out of that series, and they're winning games 103-98 because their defense.
Oh,
all right. I'm just saying, I don't think Colin Sexton is on the same par as those guys, so they can't afford.
He's not. He is not.
Exactly. So they're not going to even
He
be in
is
that
not that
position.
guy.
But the whole notion that offense is taking over. Colin's been saying that a lot. Uncle Colin. Shut up. No, it's not. Defense wins championships.
It does.
Staying healthy.
This playoffs has definitely proven me wrong. I thought it was going to be kind of like very high scoring series, and we've only had like one real like high scoring series. So
I would ask you because there's a lot of stuff back end of the draft. Cavs trade the 3 pick for the Warriors 7 and 14. Is that ugly?
Cleveland needs to get more. Cleveland needs to get more. Cleveland needs to get a player that. See, I think Golden State would even want more. I think Golden State would want a player that they can use off the bench, and I think Cleveland would kind of need something.
I wouldn't dismiss that though, because
you think Nance in the 3rd pick for 7 and 14? I think that's way too much.
That's way too much. That's why the Warriors would have to balance it, because it's like right now it's like tipsy.
This is an NBA 2K trade finder. You're reusing all 5 slots. What kind of multiplayer deal is this?
I would use all 5 slots probably. I don't know. I feel like the Warriors they'd be kind of letting Cleveland off the hook, and then who did the Warriors draft?
Well, then you could trade that 3 pick for something better. I think the value for the 3 pick is better than the 7 and 14.
I wouldn't mind them keeping 3. I'd like to see them draft Suggs alongside Steph. I think he would be like the perfect guy next to him.
But Clay's back and healthy now.
That is true, and Suggs is a little bit of a smaller guard. So
the Warriors can't keep these picks. I think we're in agreement there. They can't keep them.
Okay.
Unless they're going to rebuild. If you're going to rebuild, trade Steph, which
to the Lakers. Trade Steph to the Lakers.
No, I don't think it's that, George.
No, it's not that.
But yeah, my little Rockets case. The West is very tough, but a front court of Kevin Porter Jr.
I forgot
Christian
about Kevin
Wood
Porter Jr.
and
oh my gosh.
Mobley. Jeez Louise. And then you got guys like House Jr. John Wall's still there because they can't trade his contract.
The cheater, the shooter, Eric Gordon, the
cheater, the eater, and the beater. Eric Gordon.
The big 3.
But I think it's not. I wouldn't put money on it because the Rockets are in the West. But I think George had the obvious pick. But I like the Rockets a lot. I think Rockets built something special.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to that. Our last segment here. I think it might just be me, and you guys can chime in and see who I forgot or if someone doesn't belong on here.
You go ahead and go, and then I'm gonna.
These are my top 5 favorite NBA white boys in honor of Kevin Huerter being deemed K'Von Huerter, and then last year Tyler Hero being deemed Tyrone Hero. These boys just start showing out, and they get these epic nicknames. I didn't go European. They got to be homebred from the USA. Because if so, we're getting Luka, we're getting Jokic. That's cheating. No, these guys are pure white. So first off, I grouped them together. Hero and Duncan, the Heat boys. They're Miami.
The bubble guppies.
Yeah, they both got that flair to them.
Yeah.
2, just because of why it was K'Von Huerter. He's showing out here. He's redhead too, which boosts because he's redhead. He's velvet. 3. Joe Ingles.
He's Australian, though.
Kinda, but what does he look? Kinda. I don't hear an Aussie accent. I don't.
Yeah, I do.
Isn't Kyrie Australian?
Ben Simmons is Australian.
I know Ben Simmons is Australian.
Anyways.
Continue.
Caruso.
Okay.
Free my boy.
Especially because the whole
I hope your guy
in Texas.
I hope your guy is the next guy.
I don't think he is. I may have forgotten someone. Dante DiVincenzo. Did I forget someone?
Oh my gosh. All right. So ladies and gentlemen,
I have a legacy player though. Chase Budinger.
I will name some,
I don't have a list.
I'll name some of mine. Coming out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Gordon Hayward, the guy I thought you were going to say, the most obvious, the most friendly white guy in the universe. He's the Andrew Luck of the NBA.
He had the best wife in all of Utah.
Tualatin, Oregon, Peyton Pritchard. He just came in there. He's doing pretty good. I think my favorite white guy of all time, though, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, TJ McConnell. Absolute legend. Some other ones, Kelly Olynyk, you could have named. I thought you would have named Kelly Olynyk.
I look on the table.
Mason Plumlee.
Now we're digging. But
nobody say Myers Leonard. And then probably my second favorite player, Cody Zeller, because there's no reason for him to have a starting center job, but he just does. And
him and Cruz remind me of each other a lot because not only are they like balding, but they have they're athletic. Like Cody Zeller dunks on him. He's got.
Cody Zeller is a very fun one, but TJ McConnell is probably my favorite.
You got a legacy player. Like I said, I got Chase Buttinger.
I have to think, and we don't have time for me.
We don't got time for that. George did not get the memo. He doesn't want to do this game.
You
That's
didn't
okay.
send
It's
it
okay.
to me in the pregame notes.
You didn't. You're a menace.
Well,
I hate my life.
As host, I'll declare a winner. Josh had some better ones. I tried to whip this up quick because I thought we were recording last night, and I didn't look back at it. So
And he didn't send it to me.
I left a lot on the table, and Josh ate the crumbs. But it's time to call it. Me and George got basketball to play. Josh has girlfriend to see. It's oof, wow. First morning episode in the books, but that's gonna do it for tonight's episode. The outro's wrong. Thanks for watching or listening. If you like what you're, make sure to follow us at THHoopers, Instagram and Twitter. George, when he gets Wi-Fi, I think he's on a hotspot right now.
You'll see my pretty
He's
face.
still got them Twitter fingers though. Nothing can take him out. I think he's on his sister's Wi-Fi.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, on YouTube you can see our busted faces because we woke up 20 minutes before this podcast. But hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, just like I said. Thanks for being an OG, and